Okay. Good day, everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome all of you to our today's forum, where we come together not to just talk about education, but to explore its deeper impact on our lives, our communities, and the future of learning. So today, we have a unique opportunity to share ideas, to share the challenges, and we can learn from each other's experiences. Whether you are a student, a counselor, a parent, or even the education minister, you are simply someone who are curious about how this learning environment can evolve. So, I encourage all of you here today to engage actively, ask questions, and offer your perspectives. So, no matter your ideas is too small, every viewpoint adds value. So, imagine you wake up tomorrow, no exams, no grades, no final papers. Are students about to unlock their genius era? Or are we releasing chaos monsters into society? What about first we hear from our counselor?
Hi everyone, I'm Nur Haryatu Adia as a counselor from SMK Tanjung Manis. In today's generation, some examinations have already disappeared or been replaced with alternative assessments. From my experience as a school counselor, the immediate impact of this change has been emotional confusion among students. Examination was stressful previously acted as anchor. They gave students clear goals, deadlines, and benchmarks to understand their progress. When these anchors were removed, students often feel lost. They began to question the purpose of their studies and whether their efforts truly matter. This shift is reflected in my work. Since some exams disappear, I have observed a noticeable increase in students coming for counseling consultations. Many students express anxiety and uncertainty, saying things like, without exams, how do I know if I am improving? Or if there are no grades, how will my parents or teachers evaluate me? These sessions are longer and more frequent than before, because students are struggling to adjust to a system that no longer provides clear feedback. Without examinations, many students struggle to stay motivated. Instead of fostering creativity or independence, the absence of structured assessment has for some led to stress, confusion, and emotional instability.
Alright, that was quite a good idea and perspective that has been presented by our counselor, right? But listening to her perspectives of the education forming in our country right now, it seriously makes us more curious about the content that the education environment is delivering to the student right now, following the topic that we are discussing right now about the exam management and terminations. So, I'm sure that it is seriously like bringing a very concerning issue in our society and communities. So, can we hear from the current batchmate student in our country right now, which is currently in 5 high school, experiencing the SPM examination right now? What is her own opinion and the impact in the exam terminations within the past few years? Let's welcome her.
Hi, my name is Shazalin Amira. I'm currently studying at SMK Cotton City as a Form 5 student. So, as a high school student, exam termination will really affect my future well-being. Why? Because that's what schools are for. We went to school to absorb knowledge and apply it to the exams. Not saying that we can only test our knowledge based on the paper, but that's where the erudition were applied. The negative impact is the motivation killer. For many students, exams are only reason they open the textbook. Without it, we will feel lost. I also think that without exams, it's a loss of direction. Exams actually act as a compass for majority of the students. It tells you exactly what is important to learn. Without them, you will lose track on what are you learning. And I also think exam termination will cause a lot of procrastination among the students. Without a terrifying deadline or I'll do it later, mindset can take over completely. You might find yourself doom scrolling for 8 hours instead of exploring something new, as talking about students I do that too.
I noticed that we really have different viewpoints about the purpose and the viewpoints of exams really making every one of the students geniuses or chaos monsters. But from what we have heard from the both sides before, it is really creating a really bad chaos monsters among the students. But it will be really fair and effective if we hear from the other sides, I mean from the bigger sides about measuring the exams and how it can be whether a genius or the chaos monsters among the students. I'm sure that these both sides has different perspective. So let's start with the opinion from a parent whose her daughter also is currently studying in a school right now with many exam issues. What about the parents' perspective?
Before we get started, let me introduce myself. I'm Nurhitma binti Musadi. I came here today as one of the parents' representative. And let me share my opinion. I've been thinking about this crazy scenario. What if exam just disappeared tomorrow? And honestly, I think it would be the best thing to ever happen to education. Forget about the chaos monster. I'm seeing a geniuses. Because the first one is deeper learning over surface skimming. Because instead of teaching to the test, teacher would be free to explore subject in that, and kids also wouldn't cram, and they would investigate. They would move from what's the answer on the test to how does this work in the real world. The second one is passion driven project. Learning would pivot to project based assessment. Imagine a history class where instead of an essay or on the causes of World War I, my child builds an interactive documentary, or math classes where they put an algorithm to solve a local community problem. This is where innovation sparks. The third one is the rise of the polymath. Exams force a specialization too early. Without them, my child would have the space to follow their curiosity across disciplines, to be a chemist and a poet and a coder and a philosopher. They wouldn't be afraid to take a tough class just because it might lower their GPA. We would cultivate well-rounded, creative problem solvers. That's all from me.
Alright, as what we have heard earlier from the representative of a parent from a student that currently studying in high school right now too, it is truly a respectful perspective from that side. But exams also known to be a system which organized by the higher education level, which is known as Minister of Education in Malaysia. So what about if we hear from the complex level of perspective rather than just listening to the community level? So let's welcome our Minister of Education, Dr. Suhaila, to introduce about her opinion and what she thinks of the termination of exams to create geniuses or chaos monsters.
Assalamualaikum, I'm Dr. Suhaila, Malaysia Minister of Education. From my point of view, neither is great unless the system is equally managed. If exams disappear without structure, yes, chaos is possible. But if exams disappear with a purpose, students don't become a monster. They become human learners. That is precisely why Malaysia is abolished EPSR and PT3. These exams have become high-stake filters, not learning tools. Students memorize to survive, not to understand. Teachers taught to test. Parents measured intelligence with a single number. Now, we decide that genius is not a silence in an exam hall. Genius is
curiosity, resilience, and collaboration, and problem solving. That's it. Oh, alright. I noticed that both sides that we talked just now, mostly they supported for the exam to create geniuses when their perspective been landing on that side. But it is important for us to discuss not only from the academic strategies, but also from what the other communities may be thinking for this exam terminations. So let us move to the next part, which is about a personal question to each side. So, what do you think about the exam terminations these past few years? Can it be negative in the future, or can it need to still be a positive part in the future? Let's welcome our student first, who is in a high school era, to conclude the topic by giving her opinion about exam termination, which will give the effect in the future.
Thank you for the question. Personally, as a student, it's a fun thing to hear that the exam is finally being removed. That is actually what most of the students is dreaming about since forever. But from my own perspective, exams actually need to stay for the sake of academic consistency. Some students take academic achievement really seriously because that's what keeps them sane and feel like they're in the right path. So I think exam termination is actually not a really good thing for us students specifically because it can really drift our future apart in terms of short-term and long-term effects.
Alright, for next, let's welcome our beloved counselor to share what about her own idea to improve the counseling session for upcoming students about their examination.
Thank you. From my perspective, the disappearance of exams highlights a deeper issue: students' emotional readiness for self-directed learning. Many high school students are still developing skills in time management, goal setting, and self-discipline. Removing structured assessments before these skills are fully established can be overwhelming. In counseling sessions, students often share concerns such as how do I prove myself to my parents or teachers? These concerns show that exams were not just about grades. They also provided security and clarity. Without them, students feel uncertain about their abilities if and future pathways.
Alright, that was really a good idea that has been represented by our counselor, which can reduce the stress and anxiety among the students from being a chaos monster, obviously. Alright, from the side of parenting, I think the parents will have a better solution for the sake of their own kids, especially facing their exams era and their exam session and studying session. So what about we listen from the parents' idea to reduce the chaos monsters that might appear in the future and to encourage more geniuses to born instead of exam terminations? Let's welcome her. Your idea.
In my opinion, the exam termination can make the student focus on holistic learning, which is encourage them to continue assessment. Also, this force students to engage with material consistently throughout the year, fostering a deeper understanding rather than a rote memorizing, which is removing and termination of examination can make the student be more focused on their learning. The second one is I personally believe that it can reduce mental health burden. It directly addresses the significant because examination actually can make the student go through a stress, anxiety, and burnout that make them sorry, I repeat my point. The second point is reduce mental health burden. It directly addressed the significant stress, anxiety, and burnout that high-stakes final exam inflict on students. This was an acknowledgement that well-being is critical for learning.